I am from Architecture and Urban Planning College of Tongji University, and I believe at this conference, not many speakers are from these education institutions. So we as a university, as an education institution attach importance to things that probably are different from what you pay attention to. We believe China's urbanization is moving into a new future. That is, we need to review what we started in 1960s, that is the megastructure. We need to reinvent it and recreate it. So in the history, we have a lot of understanding about megastructure, a lot of different definitions. In general, it is about a firm structure based on which we attach different functions and buildings to it. It's a group of buildings. And in history, we witnessed many experiments about megastructures. And in today's view, we can see that they are the closest to the creation of megastructure, especially in China. So now the day of megastructure has come. One reason is because of the shortage of land. Under such circumstances, all the scientific research done by universities are about saving the land.
So we think that the so-called vertical cities and the vertical urbanism compared to the traditional horizontal urbanism, why these two are different, I think it is pretty much because of the following. First, horizontally, the urban spread is based on the efforts to resist friction. Therefore, the largest or most distinct characteristic for urban vertical horizontal urbanism is there is a very enriched kind of spatial pattern, and when it comes to the vertical front, the efforts are to resist kind of gravity. And therefore, vertically speaking, it is hard to shape the spaces to multiple forms compared to the horizontal spread. Therefore, we're going to have to revolutionarily change our understanding of urban culture in the vertical setup versus the horizontal one. Now, people are making exploratory efforts to, develop the vertical kind of patterns. And on my campus, we're making these efforts continuously. You can look at some of the works of the studio we have. So according to Madame Liu mentioned, this is like a compound, stereoscopic or three-dimensional vertical city. So, the different functionalities will be realized in the same vertical tower. So in China, we also have some concepts that merit our attention. 1 square kilometer of land, 100,000 people live and work in this piece of land. So the plot ratio for architecture is above 6. This is like the basic concept for China. As we try to conduct the studies on vertical cities, this is a popular concept. Of course, we look at our studies on megaform or some vertical urbanism. There are 3 basic types. First, compositional form. Second, megaform. Third, group form. So if we look at the current trend of development, actually, this kind of a compositional form, or we magnify the super high-rise building to accommodate more and more city functionalities. This is already a possibility in China. Let's take an example from Xi'an. In Xi'an city, they're trying to apply the compositional form as they develop. So in China, and some efforts are also underway to reapply the megaform concept. According to our analysis, so up to now, the megaform types of architecture, as well as the other 2 types, the frequency of application of the three types. And based on our current study of the pathway forward, a very important issue we identified already, namely, how can we realize our dream of the megaform? Yes, indeed, it takes a roadmap to achieve the dream. So I would like to put my advice or suggestion on the table. I don't think it is high time for us to magnify a tall building into a megastructure or a vertical city. I don't think we're right in the middle of a good timing to do that. Now we're, rather, instead of this kind of a megastructure, we're actually in the middle of a transitional stage to do that. So now we're still in the middle of a group kind of a form. So we connect the so-called tall buildings. Then we can add some horizontal elements in order to strengthen the bond among different buildings so that we are able to accommodate different urban lifestyles. So conceptually wise, as we try to do our studies, these are some of the concepts we borrow or refer to. So in the process of our study, we think that as one of the most important factors to urban culture, the streets around urban spaces, we need to do a lot more studies on the urban streets because it is a very important factor to carry the urban culture. We try to connect the different streets and different structures on the streets, and these are some of our studied objects. Actually, for us, the most important point for doing study, we need to be mindful of the possibility that what might happen when we live in an altitude of 400 to 500 meters day in and day out. According to our understanding, Singapore and Hong Kong are the two places where the efforts regarding vertical city development are most successful. System-wise, the result of evolution is an evolution from grid to matrix. So this is a horizontal link or a combined link covering both the vertical and the horizontal dimensions. Of course, we have different types of links and bonds. In the interest of time, we're not going to go into detail, but there is one issue I would like to explain. As we know that in our pathway to develop vertical cities, if we only try to increase the height of the buildings, this is not enough. This is not a good path forward. So what will be the next steps? If we're able to always incorporate the horizontal element into our vertical urban development, then this is going to be a very important move we can ever make. So we are doing studies on the megastructure, as we alluded to previously, and we already extract some lessons based on our past experiences. If we are blindly construct those independent vertical buildings which are actually in silos to one another, this is truly wrong, and it may jeopardize people's life in urban space if we only try to pursue the construction of those different independent tall buildings without connection. These are some of our conceptual ideas about the different pathways. How can we, achieve like a compound kind of urban structures with a very organic link or bond? You look at the China development, up to now, there is an important issue that pains for a solution. Namely, our theoretical study always lag behind of a practical progress because in reality, people really call for very rapid development on the ground, but our theoretical study lags behind. And I would like to say that the deadline for doing megastructure is just around the corner, so we need to quicken the pace of our theoretical study. These are some of the views or images we generate in the process of our study, and we're trying to, for example, blend the different functionalities or functions along the vertical axis. And the studies on vertical transportation as well. And this is one of the exploratory efforts we have been making, trying to achieve the megastructure. So these are different means of transport in our, kind of conceptual analysis. And in terms of technical means, regarding industrialization and the construction of residential housing, yes, we have already laid a good foundation on which we're able to gradually, march toward the goal of building vertical cities eventually. So as of today, as we are doing study along the way, and we think that we have many dreams about constructing a vertical city, this idea is very attractive, supported by capital. However, in order to really pull it off, we are full of, we're faced a lot of difficulties. For example, the scarcity of a land supply. This is like a stress point. In addition, we also have societal problems, and for which we have no answer to yet. So hereby, we really face a host of confusions and problems. It seems that vertical urbanism is a solution, a way out. We look at the community-based organization, and we think that China is one of the earliest countries that is likely to achieve megastructure among a host of nations in the world, because China's social organization form is very efficient and effective. As far as societal administration, law, 100,000 people as a group, this is like the basic metric unit for societal administration or management. So there may be variation to the organizational forms, of which the details are a skip in the interest of time. But anyhow, let's look at the vertical urbanism and some practices in Singapore. I think that Singaporean practices could be of help to us. I think that once China has achieved some milestones as far as the development of urban, vertical cities are concerned, then China's accomplishments are even going to be greater. So now, as we know, that there is a kind of international competition with a duration of 8 years with the help of an organization of National University of Singapore School of Design and Environment since 2011. So this competition has been up and running for 4 years and already collected over 80 proposals. So as the competition is unfolding, an important issue we've already identified. In the very beginning, people all are intended to work on megastructure with only one monolithic structure or architecture to really solve the problem. But 4 years down the road already, now people are more intended to really connect different high-rise buildings with a high level of density. So, an exciting megastructure form, we think that we need to really add on the societal considerations to the development and a realization of a megastructure. The societal elements are indispensable. This is a design proposal for Seoul. This vertical urbanism concept, it is no longer only blindly pursue increased height of the buildings anymore, but rather it is a comprehensive, highly dense, and yet very great street-based kind of a design. We have different universities as contestants. For example, ETH proposal. So to a certain extent, the ETH kind of a proposal is sort of different from what we see throughout this conference. This concept, really describes a highly dense urban or kind of a building cluster with a connection and a link among different buildings. This is a Honai Vietnamese design proposal. As I already mentioned, for studies on vertical urbanism, the overall trend is trying to be anchored on connection and a bond rather than a blindly pursuit of a higher and a higher height. So finally, in conclusion, just based on the theme of our conference, toward a sustainable vertical urbanism, I think that horizontal dimension must be considered. Now, everybody is talking about we should use how many elevators to support the height of 1,000 meters, but I think the linchpin lies with horizontal part when we are trying to develop vertically. Second, the societal and cultural challenges are more important than technical challenge. Today, I'm very happy to hear that going forward, many Chinese people will be living in places up high in the sky. I think that years down the road, we're going to have our judgment whether this kind of a lifestyle is going to impact humanity evolution. Then by then, we are one step closer to megastructure. So I gather that our current roadmap should not only look at the vertical development, but rather we should actually go about it by group form to strengthen the horizontal link in a bond. Of course, this is a transitional stage. Going forward, we may get rid of the transitional state. Then we're going to achieve this megastructure vertical urbanism. Thank you.